Welcome back, guys, to New Officiant Era, a series spotlighting officiants building their business and brand with bold voices. Of course, I'm your host, Tiara, New Jersey wedding officiant and owner and creator of the Wedding Officiant Academy. And I am beyond excited for today's guest. So can you please give us a formally informal introduction to yourself and your business?
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Tiara. My name is Opie of Meet Me at the Altar Wedding Services, and I am honored to be on the podcast today to talk all things officiant, an efficient world. So thank you for having me.
I love that. I am excited to get into our conversation. Opie, I've been following all the amazing work you've been doing in the officiant space. I'm always so excited when I see you at like conferences and all these different places where we get to network with other wedding pros. So I'm excited for this conversation. Thank you so much. I would not be me if I did not start off with a gratitude check-in. So it's just when you share one thing you're grateful for, I share one thing I'm grateful for. And it's really just a practice that I do with all of my couples. So we'll do that and then hop into the icebreaker.
Okay, I love that. All right. One thing I'm grateful for, I guess, would be not. I guess I know is good health. I think in the past year I was just so focused on doing so much that I actually didn't even take a check into myself and see how I was doing. But this year I'm very intentional about taking care of my body, taking care of my health, so that I can be a better person for me, which in turn makes me better to serve all the amazing couples that, I get to be a part of their special day. So one thing I'm definitely grateful for is just feeling good in my body.
Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. I would say I am also, grateful for that too. It's funny because I started to see like you and Nikki and Terica and Jennifer like doing these like workout check-ins. And I
Right.
like slid into Terica's DM and I was like, listen, honey, I operate best out of FOMO. Like, it's no way y'all going to go and get finer without me. So I am grateful for just the community of women that
Absolutely.
it's like all of these women are from different states and different professions and
Yeah.
y'all guys are connecting on this fitness tip and I'm just grateful to know all of y'all to be able to slide in y'all DMs and be like, so am I. So
I love it. Yeah, I think community is definitely something I'm grateful for that I've learned in terms of longevity
yeah.
in this thing that we're doing in this wedding industry and everything. Community is number one. You can't do it all by yourself and you can't be like, I know it all, because everyone is experiencing this industry in their own way and they all have something to bring to the table, and you have to be someone who is seeking knowledge and not just be like, oh yeah, I know everything, so I
Yeah.
don't need your help.
Yeah.
I've learned so much more from being open to meeting even other officiants, because there's this mindset that, oh, that's your competitor. But I know that there's a lot of officiants who have said, you know what, I am not available this day, but I know someone that is available that I trust to do a great job, and I know that I've done the same too. So it goes a long way, that community, that sense of, being there for one another, collaboration, not, over competition, for sure.
No, absolutely. I listen, 110% agree with you. You already know that's like my sentiment all the way. I absolutely believe in community over competing. And I think to your point too, it also cuts your learning curve, right? So you like if you are around people who are a little bit further ahead than you or who
Hmm.
have maybe don't even have to be further ahead than you, they can be your peer, but they've tried things differently than you have. And yeah,
Hmm.
guys can like troubleshoot with each other. And again, you're able just to like cut your learning curve and be able to learn things faster and more proficiently and do things more,
Yeah,
effectively. And that's going to always produce better for your business and, everybody around you. So I
absolutely.
agree, girl. I love that. So let's get into this icebreaker. I would love for you to share, and we kind of had this conversation before, but
Hmm.
let's talk about what do you love about officiating? What is that thing that, gets you excited every wedding season, when you're about to step on the mic? What do you love?
Ah, yeah, we did talk about this a little bit, and I will have to reiterate that that's still one of the things I do love, is that you're meeting different couples. We know, okay, a wedding is a wedding. Everyone knows kind of like the main main idea of it. Oh, there's a ceremony, then there's cocktail hour, then there's reception. They know the order. But the thing that really makes it different is that we're meeting different couples with different love stories, and everyone defines what that love means for them.
Yeah.
You know, we can't just say, okay, this is how it should be, so everyone has to follow that same sequence. That's just not reality. That's not life.
Yeah.
You know, even
Absolutely.
on a personal level, like we all go through things, we all experience things with our significant other in a different way. So the way that we give love and the way that we receive it is going to be different. And that takes me back to my couples. They are also experiencing that partnership, that love for one another in a different way. And my job is to convey that what that love means, you know, to them, to the people that are there to actually witness them make this commitment. So that's why essentially my favorite part still ends up being their love story.
Yeah.
Still ends up being, why are we here today? Why are all these people, if they have to, get on a flight, you know,
Yeah.
get
Driving.
accommodations, do all
Yeah.
this stuff, get all dressed up.
Yeah.
Yes, we understand the party thing, but the main reason why we're there is because two people are saying we are publicly making a commitment to one another. You know, we're making these promises. So what got us here today? And I love understanding those two people and being able to present it in a way that, you know, fulfills and represents who they are.
I love that. That was so good.
Thank
That
you.
was so good. I always say that too. It's like, what are y'all witnessing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The ceremony, the love, the
Right.
marriage being, official. And like you
Right.
said, that public declaration.
Yeah.
Real, but like, reality, the public declaration. And then we go celebrate, with the cocktail and, a shrimp skewer,
Yeah. Great
So we came
dumpling,
and
you
did our
know? Something
job,
like a
right?
great dumpling, I will take that any day, you know?
Right.
Give me, you know, cocktail hour may even be better than the dinner, but that's a different conversation.
Oh my gosh, but wait, can we really have that conversation one day? Okay, okay, okay. We can table it for later, but
Right. I
I would
mean,
love to have that. So true. That's so true. Okay, so I would love to hear, your origin story. What really inspired you to be a wedding officiant? And,
mhm.
has that vision changed over time? Has it evolved?
Yeah, you know, essentially I think for me, I have always wanted to, or I feel like all of us want to, but I think I make it a declaration, or I say it out loud, that I want to live a life of purpose. I want to be able to live in a way that inspires other people to be their best selves, that gives people like, yes, this is possible for me. So no matter what it is that I'm doing, I want to be of service. And I think in this profession, we are being of service to our couple. We have to be that person that guides them, because for a lot of people, not everyone, but majority of the people that are coming to us that say, you know, we're getting married and this is what we want, they need guidance.
Yeah.
They've never done this before. First
Hmm.
of all, they've never even planned anything before. And then the first thing that they're planning is their wedding day. Like,
Right,
that's
right.
crazy, you know? And then not only that, they have opinions of everyone, family, friends. They've been to maybe a wedding before and they've seen how it's been done. They're on social media, which tells them that your wedding has to have this or else it's not real. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many things coming at them.
Mhm.
So for me, my job is to then be of guidance and to tell them that, you know, we can make this what you want it to be. We can make it in a way that makes you feel comfortable, that makes you feel like this is personalized. This represents us and no one else, because this is not the wedding of, you know, Jack and Jill. This is the wedding of Sarah and Ben,
Yeah.
whoever it is. So we have to be able to be of guidance to that. And when I came across this industry, first by a friend of mine. So it had always been in my mind to officiate, to do this, but I don't think I when I go back to living a life of purpose, I was living life a little bit scared.
Oh,
Like,
I
"Ah,
love
but
that.
what if it doesn't work out? What
Yep.
if I don't do this?" So it kind of stopped me from actually pursuing it. But then I had no choice. My friend was like, "You know what? We need an officiant. You're going to do it." It wasn't even a, "Oh, can you do it?" It was more like, "No, you're doing it." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay. Yes, I am." So so then I had no choice but to make sure that I'm not doing this because it's just a friend and I'm just going to half-ass it. I'm going to give 110% to this thing, and I'm going to make sure that it feels like this is my 100th wedding, not my
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And that requires me seeking out knowledge, reaching out to people who have done this before, and seeing what way can I make this something that is engaging, something that is fun. And that's really part of the reason why, well, how I got my feet wet. But it took me another year before I said, I want to do this for other people, because I did want to take my time to develop a method that makes sense for me. Because now I'm saying, I want to make this a business. I want to reach out to other people, which goes way beyond just the ceremony itself. But there's a lot of stuff like the customer experience. How are you making them feel along the way before you even get to the wedding day? You know, a lot of people just think it's, you just show up and then you just tell them to say I do, and then you sign a piece of paper.
Yeah.
That's not the experience,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
going back to purpose driven, I think this industry has been something that had been in the background, but I realized that I needed to stop wasting time and
Yeah.
stop living in fear and actually pursue something that gives me joy and continues to make me be of service to people the way that I feel that my life is supposed to be.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so you were voluntold. We love
Yeah.
that, right? We
Yes.
love when we are pushed, towards
Yeah.
our potential, by people who see it. Sometimes people see it in us more than we see it in ourselves, or what we see is the obstacles, and they're like, they're not as big as you think they are. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah. I'm
mean?
definitely grateful. I mean, that person is seriously one of my closest friends. We've been through everything. And funny enough, we didn't even start becoming friends until after high school.
Okay.
But she's literally been in my life in different journeys. We've been in each other's lives through, you know, from being single to being in a relationship. Now she has a kid, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the first meet me at the altar wedding services baby.
Yes.
It's just,
Oh, I love that. Yes.
no,
Oh, that's beautiful.
we've been through it all.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And okay, so I want to touch on, because I was looking over your website, and of course we had conversation, but I know you took the Unboring Academy
Mhm.
training. So I would love for you to share, did you take that before your first wedding? Did you take it after, when you realized you wanted to become more serious? And just what are your thoughts on, getting training before really jumping out there? Because you spoke a lot on, it's not just showing up, it's not just reading the script, right? It's everything in between that leading up to that. Actually, that's probably like like the fireworks, like at the end of everything, but
Absolutely.
it's so much more that really like leads up to that. So yeah, how important is getting that type of education and training beforehand, especially once you realize you want to make this a business?
Yeah, I think it's important to get training. Let me just answer that question right away. I think it's important to get training before you get into doing this. But part of it is also knowing where you are, like where you're starting and where you want to go. For me, I know my educational background is also in public relations. I've done a little bit of public speaking even before I got into this. So I had a little bit of I would say like a curve, because I'm comfortable around people. I think as an officiant, you have to be comfortable to be in front of a crowd and to be able to deliver something. So, that one aside, you have to know. I actually just spoke about this recently. You have to know who you are. You have to know what who you want to serve and what you want to do. So, you have to be honest and vulnerable with, this is who I am right now. This
Mhm.
is what I can do, and this is what I need to be able to serve the types of couples I want to serve. Um, all of us have that goal as officiants. Like, as an officiant, what do I want to do, and who are the people I want to serve? I think once you write that down, then you will understand the type of training that you do need. There's some people that maybe all they want to do is literally just a sign and go. They don't want to do a ceremony. They just want to be that legal representation that's needed for a couple to say we are legally married. That is completely fine. That is your business plan. And I
Mhm.
think that goes back to, what do you want to do? And that comes in your business plan. This is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to do it. if you don't write that down, if you don't set those goals, if you don't actually put it on paper, like literally write it down, not just
Yeah,
something you
I
just come
wrote
up
it
in your head and you kind
yeah,
of put on the backside, but say, this is the type of person I want to serve. You start to create your own standard. And then you also now go back again to, who am I? Am I the type of person that these people deserve? Or what can I do to be deserving of those couples that I want to serve? Um, Speaking of unborn wedding, I love the aspect of love story. It really just it made sense for me.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
So when I went through that program, it talked about engaging with the guests, and it talked about telling their love story, and that's what makes it unique. And I love that idea because now I can I know how to talk to the guests so that they know that it's okay for them to let their guard down and have a good
mhm,
time. It
yeah,
doesn't have to be stuffy. You don't have to like look serious. Smile. When I say a joke, you can laugh. It's okay
yeah,
to laugh. It's
yeah,
okay to clap at places where you think like, "Oh yeah, that was really good."
yeah,
And being aware of, not even being embarrassed about what can happen. I've had a wedding where literally the what's it called? The arch fell, but I
oh,
wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, life is over." No.
yeah,
We just the wedding party picked it up and I said, just like we practice.
yep,
And then that kind of like, yes, I am aware that this happened, but that
yeah,
doesn't stop the flow of the ceremony. Yesterday I had a wedding and the scarf, I don't know what it's called, I'm sorry, but it was wrapped around the arch and it just kept hitting me in the face because the wind was
oh,
so
like the
much.
draping?
Yeah, there we
Oh,
go.
yeah, okay, yeah,
I was like, I know it's called something. So yeah, I'm not a designer. Sorry.
that's funny.
Just kept hitting me in the face at one point because the wind. We were outside and the wind was blowing.
Yeah,
And then the couple had just said their vows beautifully. I came back into the spot and it hit me in the face. And I was like, even the wind agrees that that's beautiful. And then everyone, it's just like those,
yeah,
you
light in the
can
moment.
really, exactly, you can
Mhm,
really be aware of what's going on. And that doesn't stop you from delivering the ceremony, as you should. So I do believe that once you know what you want to do as an officiant, then you know the type of training that is beneficial for you. And once you do that training, you're more confident to talk to clients, to show the value that you have, to show them, this is why I cost this much. This is what I am worth. This is what I will do for you. This is how I'll be a guide, to make the process easy, to make you feel comfortable that, yes, this is the right person to help us create this beautiful, special day. Take it up a notch for us.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I think something about getting training also offers that level of confidence that you just need
Yeah.
to have when you're in that consultation, when you are explaining the services that you provide and how you do it and how you are. I'm not even going to say different because I feel like there's like a lot of focus on like, oh, you need to be different than the next person, different than the next person. The differences is really in your quirks and your personality and your personableness and what exactly it is that you do
Hmm.
do. And I love to get into the fact that you offer this like wedding workshop. Like, let's talk about that. Like, what led you to that approach? Because that is something unique and not a lot of officiants do. And, we can all be different. I offer a 3 meeting approach. You offer a wedding workshop. Some people only do questionnaires and do everything just like virtually. Some people meet in person. So it's
Right.
different ways for you to do this work and to provide the services. But I would love to know like what led you to the approach of like this wedding workshop and like, developing out this flow.
Yeah, that is definitely something that I learned from Unborn Academy. It talked about not making assumptions. Like, you think this is how something is going to work out, so you assume that's what's going to happen here. But what if what you thought is not what happens?
Yeah.
So the workshop helps us,
Yeah.
at least reduce the surprises that may happen. I'm not saying everything goes exactly as planned at every wedding, but at least you have something that gives you a guide. So my 1 hour wedding workshop usually happens about 50 days out before the ceremony. At this point, my couples know a lot more about what they want their wedding day to look like. They've looked at all the Instagram and TikTok videos. So they're
Yeah.
all TikToked out and they may have more ideas about what they want. But we really talk about the details that seem ordinary, but they do help to make the ceremony come together. We talk about what type of mic I'll be using. Is it going to be a mic stand or is it going to be a lapel mic? If they're saying their own vows, then we do need a mic because they're not going to be mic'd up. Are we outdoors or indoors? That affects sound. That affects the way that people receive things. What music are you going to walk down the aisle to? Do you even have a wedding party, or you don't want a wedding party? Are they sitting down or are they standing up with you? So all of those things are necessary. They seem like such trivial things, but if you don't do them, then you show up on the wedding day, especially if you decide not to have a rehearsal. But I love rehearsals, but especially if you don't have rehearsals and then you show up on the wedding day and you're like, okay, so how are we like, why would you even want to do that on the wedding day?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want them to know that you know what you're doing.
Yep.
And I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
They just show up and they're just present in the moment and they're enjoying their day. They're enjoying their friends and family. So that workshop really helps to break down all those little parts. And I find that at the end of the workshop, you know, I usually ask them, like, how are you feeling? And like, I feel good. Wow, I didn't even think about that. Wow, I have to still ask my DJ about that. Wow, I didn't know this. So it really helps them see visually what that day is going to look like, and then what they can expect also from the other vendors that are supposed to be part of their day.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I always say this. I think something that's so unique about officiating or just the wedding officiant vendor within the whole vendor team is that I feel like we take a lot of time to like debunk myths and almost like give people permission to do something different, right? I mean, literally, I started having that conversation of like wedding party stand or sit. And, you know, some people is like, do they do like anything other than standing? And I'm like, they can sit.
Yeah. Some
You know,
people
it's
may even say,
possible.
I want the whole wedding party, but then I only want my best man and maid of honor and everyone else
Yeah,
seated. Like, there's so many
exactly.
variations of how you do it.
Yeah. And again, people don't think about those little nuances, or they don't think that those little nuances can look different than how they've always looked. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And you know, I just always crack up because how many times have you been in a lineup and you know, a bridesmaid's come up to you and be like, okay, like how long is this serve? Like my feet is already hurting. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're looking at you like,
You're like,
girl,
yeah.
I'm excited, but you know what I
So
mean? Yeah, wrap it up.
yeah. And also, you know, the funny thing is, like, they always have those questions because they're not in the workshop with you, or they're not in those
Right.
conversations. The
Yeah.
couple already feels good and knows everything's going to be good.
Yeah.
But then the wedding party, because they haven't fully experienced what it is like to work with you, that's why they have those questions, you
That's so
know?
good. That's a good point. No, that's a good point too. So yeah, I love that, you know, you are having again these conversations where we're going over like the nuances or what can be considered, and it's not necessarily that they're mundane. I think is that there's just this understanding or this false understanding that people have gone to so many weddings and stuff like that. I mean, even during my consultations, I like to ask my couples, you know, what is something that stood out at a wedding you attended, something that like, you know, caught your eye. And for me, it's a good opportunity to gauge how many weddings has a person been to. Maybe they haven't been to any in their adult
Right.
years. Maybe their friends are just now getting married, so they've been to a ton of them. Maybe they've only been to older, you know, weddings
Right.
or more cultural weddings. So there's like a lot of conversation and education that happens that, you know, I'm just saying the officiant don't get a lot of credit for, but we be having
I
the
mean,
talks.
I'm not biased, but I agree.
Right. Like, I'm just saying,
I'm just
like,
saying.
because I think the reality is like a lot of the other vendors are so focused on the second half of the wedding day, right? So it's like
Yeah.
there's a ceremony and then there's a reception. And I just, you know, couple the cocktail hour in with the reception. But, you know, again, there's so much focus on the reception that outside of design, I think a lot of times it is really the officiant's responsibility and an opportunity to show, you know, our level of genius, our, you know, personality, and also just giving that again couples that opportunity to be like, I think I do want to do something different. Like I think I do want my wedding party to sit, or I think I do want a altar selfie, or you know what I'm saying, like just something like fun. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh, we could totally do that,
absolutely.
you
I
know.
agree. Yeah.
And I love the piece also where you're talking about giving the audience permission. And I think that is a huge element that I think not even couples really recognize, is that societally we have this idea of how people are supposed to behave at a wedding ceremony. So when couples are worried about it being boring and not fun and not engaging. And you have people who want to laugh and want to clap and want to do these things, but feel like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do that because
Yeah,
societally we're supposed to be quiet. So I
exactly.
think it's something to, like you said, you're coming out, you're giving the couples permission, you're giving the guests permission. You're like, hey, this is actually a celebration. And it's so much so of a celebration that, you got the treat of having me, you know what I'm saying? As your
I like
recipient.
that. I
Yeah.
like that.
Enjoy these next, couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So let's get into, just the way that you deliver your ceremonies, right? You really focus on it being story driven. You really focus on it being engaging. So in your opinion, what makes a ceremony unique? And how can officiants learn to lean more into that? Because we see that is what couples are really looking for. Like they do not, like they want to feel like it's them. They want to feel like it's the pregame, right, to the party. And if you don't have that training, especially for newer officiants, they might have the same, societal constructs that guests have. And we have, an opportunity to do more than that. So yeah, let's talk about what makes a ceremony unique and how can officiants learn to, lean into that for their couples.
Yeah, I think you hit some points, like part of the why a couple might choose you to officiate their wedding is also your personality and how they trust you too. So I think it's something special. Like I'm gonna still go back to the love story. I think that's what makes it unique. Um if a couple feels comfortable with you and trusts you with that, they open up and they share things with you that they, because in a sense, especially when they hire you as a professional, you're technically a stranger to them, right? You've never met them before. But then you're now telling them, you're giving them access to open up and be vulnerable and tell you things about their relationship, about what they love about their significant other. That's huge. And you have to respect that and really take care of that when you're delivering it. I think what makes it really personalized is listening and paying attention to your couples, is taking, understanding that it is their day. Yes, you may think a certain way about something. You may think, oh, the ceremony would look nice if you did it this way.
Yeah.
No, you're
Yep.
there to guide. You can share your opinion, but at the end of the day, the couple is the one that you are serving. So when you remember to be of service to the people that have hired you to do this, then we have to listen to them. We have to see that they are, sometimes you have a couple, like maybe a groom or a bride is shy, they don't like to speak in public. Even if they write it down, they still feel some type of way about saying these things out loud, and they'll say, oh, I want to do a private vow or anything. One of the things I love about the way that I have my setup is that when I do ask them what they love about each other, essentially it also becomes part of their vows. So
Absolutely.
even when they don't feel comfortable sharing that, part of what I'm delivering still goes back
Which is
to
that.
the
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So yes, they may just want to say I do or repeat after me. That's fine. I'm listening to you. I understand that you're not comfortable with that. We're going to make sure that you do that. Um Another thing I would say, which kind of it's away from what you're saying, but um it goes back to training and mentorship. If you find someone who's been doing this for a while, or just opening yourself to knowledge, it really helps you. One of my mentor mentioned that, when the couples come in, she, before she even begins and goes in, she tells them to take a deep breath in, in and out, just kind of relax them. And it's just kind of something that kind of opens them up to, like, okay, we're here, we're together, we're present. And I found that really helpful because it really does calm their nerves. All that excitement of walking down, all eyes on you and everything like that. In that moment, they can come back together, they're holding each other's hands, and everything feels good. So I've started to practice that as well with my couples, um, to give them that comfort. And to go back to that personalization, I think it all dials down to listening to what your couples want. You're there to guide them. Like, if they do say something that you're like, whoa, what are you thinking about? Then you can say, you know what? I love that idea. Let's see how we can make it work for you. You know, I've had a couple who said they didn't want a flower girl. but they wanted to have pouches like distributed in like different chairs, and then people will look under the chair, and then when the bride comes in, they're going to put flowers. They're going to be the designated flower girl.
Yeah,
But then
logistically, that
logistically,
sounds scary.
yeah, logistically, I was like, okay, I like the idea, but we can't put it anywhere. It has to be
Yeah,
on the
one of the
aisle
aisle seats.
because it's
Yeah,
going to be closest. So I love the idea. I love where you're going. How can we incorporate it that it makes sense to your day?
it's
Because
functional.
while you're about to come in, we're not going to have someone in the middle row now try to like shift and start doing that.
Yeah,
Like so
I love
those are
that.
the kind
Yeah,
of things that you're like, oh, I like that. That's really cute. You don't really want a flower girl, but you want someone to be the designated flower girl because they looked under their seat
yeah,
and they found out that they are. I love that. So how can we incorporate it and make sense to the day?
yeah.
And those are the little things that makes it customized, that makes it
Mhm.
personalized because I've never done that before.
I love that idea,
So
honestly. I haven't even heard that. Actually, I don't know. Me, I'm like a pitcher. Like when I find an idea that's really cool and a
yeah,
couple that seems to be like, I love pitching ideas. I'm like, listen, I don't take it personal. Like if you
yeah.
don't
I'm
like
like,
it,
okay,
you
I love
get
that.
it. Yeah.
I had a couple who wanted to do a bookbinding like unity ceremony, and I searched near and I was like, I haven't heard that, but what exactly are you trying to incorporate? And they said, we want to choose like childhood books that really mean something to us, and then on the day of we're gonna stack it on each other, tie it with a velvet rope, and then it's almost like we're starting a new chapter. Like this is what our childhood and how we grew up brought us here, but now we're going to start a new chapter now. And I was like, oh, I love that. I
Yes.
searched near and far, like I'm telling you, and I couldn't find any script. I think I
Because
found
it
like
don't
one.
exist.
I
Yeah.
like searched everywhere and I didn't find. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? This is nice. I like this
Yeah.
because there are some people that are book lovers,
Yeah.
and they want to find a way to make it unit. What Efficient Jimmy? He does the shot thing.
Yep. Yeah. And
So
the ring
there's
toss. Yeah.
exactly, and the ring pop. So like
Yeah.
everyone does like things in different ways that again speaks to who the couple are. So I think at the end of the day is listen to your couples and you know how to make it personalized and unique.
I love that. I love that. And also just reminding couples that all the personalization doesn't have to wait to the reception. And it
Yeah,
doesn't have to only be infused in the decor. Like
right.
I love a good fun facts napkin, as much as the next girl, right? But like we can still have odes to those fun facts in the ceremony
In the
as
ceremony.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing
And then
too. It's like
also, if you even incorporate it in the ceremony, even if you still do the fun fact napkin, when they see it, they can go
it
back
ties
like, oh,
together.
yes, I just
Yeah.
learned that about them.
Yeah.
It kind of, rather than just like something random, it actually makes them feel more connected. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's true.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Honestly, my favorite moments are like when I'm like saying something in the love story and then they like either get more into it in the vows or like hint on it in the vow. Like those are like my favorite moments where I'm like, you know what
Yeah,
you're doing. Okay.
right. Like, I told you I knew them. Like, I
Yeah,
already, yeah.
exactly.
Totally.
I love that. Yeah. And then on top of that, we see, just how the climate in the wedding industry is changing, right? We see a lot more diversity happening, a lot more
Yeah.
multicultural ceremonies where there's like this fusing and this blending. And I'm sure serving New York State, Hudson Valley, New York City, you get to be around that diversity. So, what are some ways that you ensure that you're respecting, all cultures and making sure they're being represented in the ceremony?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I say, listening to the couple. Um, because not every couple even wants to highlight something that's cultural or based in where they're from or their background. Some of them want it to be non-religious, some of them want like a little dusting of who they are. And I think when I send my couples the first draft, that really outlines the things I'm thinking about incorporating culturally and then getting their feedback and being open to it. Some of them may be like, you know what, we like that, but it feels too religious or something like that. Okay. We'll dial back down if that's not what you want. And then even some scripting or wording that I say, maybe they want to switch it up a little bit. So I think I do value diversity. I value cultures. I mean, even myself as a Nigerian American, I know how important culture and respecting that is. And also, I know sometimes when, especially like I said, when it comes to weddings, you're incorporating thoughts of family, friends, especially your parents. So one of
Yes.
the
Yes.
one of the things, like as much as you try to like, oh yeah, I want it to be like this, but you're like, yeah, but your mom and dad are going to feel some type of way if you don't do this. So what I tend to do, especially in the ceremony, is there's something that your parents or family would love. We're going to put that in the beginning of the ceremony. So they already feel good. And then everything else is going to be, all about you. So
Yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
say, that your family are going to like a prayer or something like that. So that's not going to be later on, because then it's like, okay, so when, their hands are folded and they're like,
Yeah,
so
like,
when
when
is,
is this
when
gonna
is like,
happen?
what's
Yeah.
going to happen? But if you give them what they want right away, they're
Yeah,
like, okay, great.
yeah,
Now they're relaxed and
yeah,
they love the rest of the ceremony.
yeah,
So
that's a good
that's
point.
kind of how we, respect that, making sure that of course we're doing what the couple wants, we're listening to them, and then also making sure that they're on good terms, because family can be tricky. So
Yeah.
we
Yes,
we
yes.
we
Yeah.
softly add that for them, and then, go about our day and making sure everything everything is all good.
No, I love that. That's almost like a trick of the trade, right? It's like, all right, let's put it in first. Cause I think, you do have to be seemingly objective, as the officiant. And so it's
Mhm.
never like, okay, well, we definitely should put this in because this is what your parents want.
Yeah.
And then you also, if your couple is on the fence about it or do want to honor their parents, maybe they are a little annoyed about it, but they do
Yeah.
want to honor their parents. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, we can, soften it in a way where everybody, like you said, is satisfied, but the timing of it honestly makes a lot of sense as well. So I love how you address that. And it's like, you're right, because they are going to be looking for it. So if you kind of get it straight at the beginning, then it's like, okay, they're satisfied. And then they get to enjoy everything else instead of being on that anticipation or just, waiting for that moment. And it's taking away from all the other beautiful moments that it's happening right now. So I love that. That was good. I hope people wrote that down. Okay. Absolutely. Okay, so we have to talk about it. We have to talk about the fact that you just finished the WeddingPro Fellowship for Change program. I am so proud of you. Welcome to the
Thank you.
alum side. Woo!
Thank
Of course, you need to tell the people about your experience. And of course, if there was any impactful lessons that you walked away with, please feel free to share that as well.
Yeah, yes, I am a Wedding Pro Fellow of 2024. It feels so weird that I don't have, lessons monthly anymore.
Yeah,
I'm like, come on. I want to be part of these talks. Just send me the link. I'll show up.
I was the same way.
Right, right. But no, it was definitely a great experience. And that was actually how I first met you. We were at a Wedding Pro event and I had already arrived and everything. And I think I was the only officiant at that point in the room. So everyone else were florists, content creators, photographers, everything planners. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm the only one with the orange tag. Cool, but we'll talk, we'll talk. And then later on, you came in and I was like, oh my gosh, not only is there another officiant, but she's a woman. But not only is she a woman, but she's a Black woman. I was just like, yo, this is great. This is great.
Like, I see you, you see me.
Right. It was, and then we just started talking, and it's not that like obviously like if there was anyone else, I wouldn't talk to them or anything, but it just
Yeah.
gives you this sense of confidence to see someone like you in the industry. It gives you that, oh yeah, you know what? She's doing it. I can do it. It gives you that boost. And then you told me about the fellowship because you were still in it at that point, or maybe you had just finished it. But yeah, you told me about that, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. You get free advertising, you get a mentor, I'm like, why wouldn't I sign up for this?
And it's free to apply. I mean,
Yeah, and
really,
it's free.
yeah.
So why wouldn't I do it? But it ended up being so, so good because I think it just solidified that I'm in the right place. Gave me the confidence that I'm actually pretty good at this. Like, oh, okay, you're doing a pretty good job. But also just made me start to understand my worth and how much work I do put into my couples. I don't want to be regarded as someone that just, oh yeah, you can just legally marry us. No,
Yeah.
I want to be part of someone that's giving you an experience that makes you feel loved on your wedding day, that makes you feel special and like, wow, I can't imagine my day without you. So it just kind of boosted that, and having a mentor to go through some ideas that I may have to try things. Um, it doesn't mean that's going to work out, but at least try it out and say, "Oh, maybe I can do that. Maybe that could work out. What do you think about this?" That was really nice to go through. And also learning the business aspect, because I think that's something some people miss, that it's still a business, but I guess that's where it goes back to, what do you want to do? Is this a hobby that you want to do sometimes, or is this a career that you want to actually do every day? Do you want to wake up every day and all you're doing is talking to clients, writing love stories, and preparing for ceremonies? Or are you just like, oh, you know what? Once in a while, someone reach out. I
Yeah.
know what I want.
Yeah.
I would love to do this every day. I would love to be able to talk to different people and create this experience for so many couples. So that business aspect of it was also something that I really enjoyed. And because it also came from different voices, it wasn't just officiants. It was understanding where venue owners are coming from, where florists are coming from, where photographers are coming from. I think we all have to empathize with each other and what we do and respect that. And I have to be honest, I feel like for officiants, we're not as respected as we should be. That's
Yeah,
just the
absolutely.
plain truth. Like, it's just, people don't understand how much work you put into creating that experience.
Yeah.
And that even goes for other vendors and their respect for you. It might be, I won't blame them completely, because it might be based on their experience with someone else that may not put in as much work or doesn't have that experience. But I think that when you can't take that first experience and use it for every single officiant that you meet,
That's true. Yeah.
because again, all of us knows what our goal is, and when we stick to it and we know what we're doing, it really shows in the work and the types of couples that we work with. So for me, I think learning about that business aspect, knowing what I want to, how I want my customers to feel, and the process of, you know, LLC, taxes, all those little things that you don't think about, the business aspect, that was also huge for me. And knowing how to brand myself, I'm still really slow on the whole social media thing. Like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't do it as much as I should be. But when I do post, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Oh, that is so
But
funny.
but I think it did really help me in boosting that confidence, and knowing that this is what I want to continue to do.
Yeah, I love that. And, I think for me, the program did a lot of the same things, like a lot of the same things. I remember when I did my application, I had all of these ideas of like, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to look like, different, services, stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I, quite frankly, by the end of that program, I had names and flows, like workflows and prices and ways to position in the market and just different things that I just never, would have thought about.
Right,
And it just sets you up in such a different way because of that accessibility to someone who is further ahead than you.
right,
And you get multiple, people, right? Because then you have that education every month. So you get, all these different touch points and stuff. And the fact that it's a free program, you really can't do anything but gain. Like, that's how I
right.
look at it.
Yeah,
So, you know what I
you
mean?
really have to make the best of it and be willing to learn.
I'm about to say, so let's talk about what advice you would give to someone who got accepted to the program. So, not everybody's going to make it. Let's be clear. This is a competitive program. When things are free, everybody and their mama want to apply. They're very
Yeah,
selective on who they pick. I think it's like about 30 to 35 people, like every class so far. It's been like that
yeah,
average over, in comparison to hundreds and hundreds of applications. So it is competitive to get into, shout out to us. But once you get into it, how do you leverage? How do you optimize? I don't play them games. If I get any opportunity, I'm trying to figure out how to maximize the moment it starts to the moment it ends. And honestly, after that, because it's not ending, I need to be able to have access to you or, this organization. So that was something that was very big for me. And I remember when I first came in, I like hopped on a call with Camille. And I mean, literally, like within the first week, and I was like, how do I leverage this opportunity? Tell me
I love
everything.
that. I mean, that's I think that's the best advice. You have to be open to learning and kind of treat it as like you don't know anything. Treat it as like, oh yeah, you know what,
Yeah.
I'm coming in with a blank slate and I just want to receive, but also you do want to give too. So I'm not saying that you're just taking, then you're not actually contributing, but you have to start off with a blank slate. You have to use the resources that are being given to you. And the thing I love about the mentors that are in this program is that they're not selfish. They're very helpful. They're willing to give you the knowledge if you seek it. If you
The
go out and
game.
you say, you know what, I've been thinking about this. What are your thoughts? Where do you advise that I begin? They will tell you. They're not going to hide it from you. So it's really important for you to use the resources that they do provide and also build relationship. And that's why I'm saying like you're not just taking, you're also giving. You know, you're appreciating what is being given to you and you're also sharing it with others too. Because I think especially for our industry, we have to be willing to make sure that it's regarded in I feel like we have to make sure that people understand that this is not a joke. I'm sorry. Like it's not a joke.
Absolutely. Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
a profession that really needs to be respected and has a lot of influence on how the whole day goes. So if you as an officiant are actually paying attention to all these things and are really focused on the couples that you want to serve, I think you will actually start to learn more and be open to doing that because we want to make sure that this profession is respected, that people are not looking down on it, that, oh yeah, you know what, I could just get anybody to do it. No, you can't get anybody. You have to get the best.
Yeah.
That's the way we should, look at it. And also when you think about it, even when it comes to if it's a wedding planner that's reaching out to all these vendors, their their goal is always to get the best, right? That's who they
Yeah.
want on their list, right? They
Yeah.
tell us that we need to we need to network with planners because they make the whole day. They're really involved in picking all these people. And sometimes I get nervous when they highlight all these best in all these categories. But then if the couple says, I want Uncle Bob to do it, they don't ever say, no, you need to get the best. You
Yeah.
can't just,
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's important for us to keep making sure that we do our job,
Yeah.
to keep bringing this profession to its highest level, to be respected, so that way wedding planners can see, yes, this is the worth and this is what I want to serve all my clients. I don't want them to go for average because I think anybody can do it. I want them to go for the best because they deserve the best to do that specific thing. So I think my advice would definitely be an open book, be willing to learn, and use the resources like you said, and take action. Don't just write notes and then just keep it in a notebook. Take action. This is what someone said. I can do this. Let me try it out. How does that work? And then also, funny enough, I think data is important. Data
It
is
is.
always
Yeah.
important. So you try something out and then you see the results. Okay, I made this post, even if it's social media. I made this post. These are the reactions I got. These are the likes. This is how much it was sent. Or is it reaching the right people? Because it's also not just about getting 3,000 likes if it's not reaching the clients that need to hire you. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
so,
really.
and then is this a beneficial content? Is this how I want to present myself? Does it align with my brand? Does it align with the type of couples that are reaching out to me? Yeah, so data is also something that I would say that as any business owner, but we're speaking specifically for officiants, are important in really maximizing, your impact and what you're learning.
Yeah. Oh, that was so good. I feel like you like touched on like so many things that like I want to touch on because I think it's something about, like you said, respect for the profession, right? As the professionals, but also working with other teams of professionals. And I
Yeah.
find myself having that same, like frustration as well, where it's like, we know when you work with a professional officiant,
Hmm.
everything goes better. So like,
Yeah.
why are we not,
Yeah.
tapping into that? I think the
Hmm.
same way it's like, and like, okay, let's keep it real. Like, this is a safe space, right? Whatever. I don't care. But yes, let's keep it real. Like, we're not going to remember how the cake tasted or what song had everybody on the dance floor or like how good that one, shrimp skewer was. But
I mean, if
what's
it's really
ingrained,
good, if it's
yeah, but
really
what's
good.
ingrained in our
I
mind
mean,
and what is what is most anticipated is waiting to see the bride, walk down, exchanging of the vows, that first kiss. Like, these are the moments that we are going to
impactful.
remember, yes, forever. Like, I'm going to remember how I felt crying as I watch my whoever jump over the broom or
Right.
as I jump the broom or whatever the situation is. So I
Right.
think there's, again, so much emphasis on the reception, which to me is so fleeting when the most anticipated part of the entire wedding day is quite literally the ceremony.
Yeah.
And it's so, like you
It's
said,
what
it's an
gets them even
emotion
most
state.
nervous. Like when you even think about the couple, that's like literally the part that makes them like, how is it gonna
Yeah,
be? Like they're,
literally.
by the time they get to reception and everyone's dancing, nothing, they don't have any worries. So why is it that the thing that makes them the most nervous is not what is cared for and like delicate? Like,
Yes, yes. And I say this all the time. Officiants, out of all of the vendors, the officiant is the only one that's up there with you, like literally up there with you. And not only that, they take over full control of that, like part of the ceremony. Like, yes, your DJ takes time to introduce people and like to play the music and stuff for the reception, but like, he's not holding conversation for that whole 30 minute, like, play with somebody else. I'm sorry. Like, if I got to get on the soapbox, then I just got to get on the soapbox. But at this point, like, now we're just looking at facts, right? Now we're looking at data. Now we're looking at the reality of the situation. And that's what it is. I always tell people your ceremony is the most anticipated moment of the day of your, like, that's what you've been dreaming about, not parting at the reception. It's just not it.
yeah,
So I think has to be just some brave, conversations that need to be happening. But I think also, to your point, sometimes people have these experiences with not the most professional people or people that are not in the profession as professionals. Like, they're not in the profession.
yeah,
They're not professional. So you're not going to have this grand experience. And maybe the time and the delicacy wasn't taking on, the script or whatever the situation is. But again, that's the whole point of like why we should be encouraging making budgets for and having conversations about having a full professional vendor
yeah.
team.
And to that regard, okay, if a planner has a bad experience with a DJ or something like that, they're not telling the next couple that they work with, oh yeah, then you should be fine with just having your uncle who knows how to turn on
Right.
the boom box or whatever to do
Yeah.
it. So if
Really.
that's not the case, then that's not the way that you should also put at
Yeah.
officiants again. Like you're not going to do that for the other profession
Yes.
because you had one bad experience with that
Yes.
a vendor in a certain category. So yeah, it just goes back to us as well, just making sure that we continue to elevate this profession. And as much as people think, oh yeah, it's easy for anybody to just, I had someone actually the other day, I was at another business of mine, and they came in like, oh yeah, I just got ordained, so tell me how. I'm like, I answered, like I said,
Yes.
well, I think the first thing you need to do is start with a business plan. And that's the honest truth. Like, I am definitely willing to share and everything like that, but I have to know that you're actually serious about this and you're not just being like, oh, because you think anybody can just. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah. No, listen, you are absolutely right. And people learn that as they go on too, because once they start to see that it's not just this, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I think that also, deters people, and that's what we want too. So it's like, if you're not looking to upgrade yourself and, keep developing your skills in this profession, then, maybe this isn't the profession for you, because it's not, again, this 1-2 buckle your shoe like type of ordeal. It's really not.
it's
It's
just
really
really
not.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially if you want to feel confident, because I think that's the other piece. A lot of times people say yes, as like a friend or family or something like that,
Right.
and then their nerves take over. And then that's why they don't, always produce and have a great delivery. I mean, I had a friend text me and she was saying about how her cousin had a wedding in Jamaica or something like that, had a friend of the family do it. And I think he forgot the vows, the ring, and the kiss. Well,
Well,
those is
then,
the major components.
wait, what?
Just being
Like, well, then,
nervous.
okay, you're set.
Yes. Congratulations. Yes, we can just about
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Oh
Welcome, Mr. and
no,
Mrs. But
no,
again, nerves.
yeah,
Nerves. And, and,
yeah,
and
it
we see it
happens.
happen all the
And
time.
also, just like, the funny thing is that people don't understand that you write these things like it's a script. Like, okay, for example, if the family friend had a script that he literally had to go down through, that he had written, that he had seen over, like, there's no way you skip it unless you like missed a few pages and went to the end. Like, if you had it written down, oh, the vows are next, ring exchanger next, the kiss, like, if you have it, how do you miss it? So unless you just stood there and you just wanted to memorize on freehand and just go, then, you know, so, well, I mean,
I feel bad because, of course, like
but
they
you were like, that's
never
why
really
they
want to
should have
do that.
hired Tiara for the royal treatment. That's why they didn't get the royal treatment. That's what you were thinking in your head. You're like,
Like quite literally, like
yeah,
actually,
actually.
but yeah, I just was like, and I think that's the thing. Again, just a lot of people don't know, don't understand. Like, I mean, even sometimes when you're like, oh, do you think you want to do an unplugged ceremony? Or like, there's like even that language is foreign to them. Like, wedding lingo is foreign to people. And so I think there's just a lot of education that we have a great opportunity to provide for people. I think
Mhm.
providing that is also going to make, us stand out, you know what I'm saying, as well. So yeah,
Yes.
maybe you just have to check on that. But
Right.
I feel like, there's a lot of, challenges that you can come into, especially as a newer officiant, whether it's getting your first wedding, trying to figure out your branding, right? Trying to figure out your presence on social media, trying to figure out how to network in person and how to kind of have those conversations with planners and photographers and stuff. I literally just booked a beach wedding the other day. Oh, the one I was talking to you about in New York.
Yes.
I had booked that one the other day, but it was like the referral came from a DJ.
I
That's what I
love
said.
that.
I said, all right, DJ.
I
That's my
love that.
DJ, right?
No, yeah, I love when referrals come from other vendors because they're like, oh yeah, actually, I had a good time at the wedding because of this, Wait a second.
I can't wait to work with them again.
Yeah, and the officiant didn't mess up my mic or anything, and like, I didn't have to explain so much.
Yeah, so it's great. And of course, we have those experiences where we go to the wedding and they're not sure if you're a professional or not by anything of you, but because they're so used to working with non-professional officiants. I
Yes,
think that is probably
the
maybe
biggest.
the top vendor type that does,
Yes,
have that
yeah,
experience. Yeah, I think so.
that's why. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
agree.
think so. But yeah, so let's wrap it up and let's get into this last question. I want you to inspire the people and really maybe share a challenge that you've overcame as a newer officiant, and how are you planning on tackling adversity as it comes? Because it ain't gonna stop.
It ain't gonna stop.
It
Like,
ain't gonna stop.
what's that song? Now it's in my head. Okay. That's a good question. I'm a person of faith. So I will say that is probably the thing that's on my forefront, is that I believe in my destiny. I believe that God has put me in this position for a reason. And because of that, I feel confident to get through any adversity. And the thing is that, I will speak personally for me. I feel like my life experiences, I have overcome so many things that I didn't think I could overcome. And because of that, I'm not fearful of challenges that might come. I'm not like, oh, this is going to be the end of the world. What's going to happen? So that is my biggest motivator, is that I know that things can always get better. Even if something is hard right now, it will get better. It's only in the season. So that would be my biggest thing. And I think even if you're not a person of faith, the one thing I would advise to anyone is to believe in who you are more than anyone else believes in yourself.
So good.
So like you have to be your biggest supporter. You have to do if it's a daily affirmation where you're really talking to yourself and knowing that I believe in you. I know that you can do this. I believe in your skills. I believe in your knowledge. I believe in the joy that you bring to other people, whatever it is that you want to put into the world. I always tell my couples this, and even like when we're doing rehearsals and I'm talking to the party, I say, you know, the energy you give is what you're going to receive. So whatever you put into the world, if you are someone who is negative, I'm sorry, that's what you're going to get back. You're going to, if something is hard, it's going to feel harder. You know, that's just it. So in that case, my biggest advice to you is to remain positive, to remain someone who knows that I'm an overcomer. That's it. I'm an overcomer. And when I believe that, no matter what comes in my way, no matter what adversity, no matter what someone may say, or, you know, oh, someone says, oh, you can't do that. Well, that's your opinion. That has nothing to do with me. I know that I can do it. I know that I can overcome. I know that I can achieve great things. I know that I can be the best at what I do. I know what I can give to the world. And if you believe that, I think that you will continue to succeed. And if you, again, are open and willing to learn, you can only get better. I don't think any of us have reached our best. We can always continue to be better. We can always continue to be greater than where we are today. But you just have to remain open-minded and believe in yourself.
Yes. Ooh, that was so good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, I love that. I love that because those were all very practical, very realistic. And it's like, again, adversity is going to come and it's going to show up in different ways. It can
Yeah,
be very small or it can feel very big. But,
right.
you know, regardless, is that you can go through it. You've done harder things. And even if you haven't done anything hard in this profession per se, you've done
Hmm.
hard things in your personal life. That
Right.
strength you can still draw from. That's still you. It's just, you know, putting it
Absolutely.
into a different perspective. So I love that. That
Absolutely.
was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for inspiring me.
Yeah,
Appreciate you guys.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, was there anything that, you know, we didn't touch on that you wanted to have a little bit of a chat about?
I mean, I feel like we can talk about so much stuff. So we have to
Right.
like do another chat and
Yeah.
really dive into that.
Yes.
I think we talked about a lot of things, especially when it comes to just starting off. When you asked me about, how you define yourself, like your brand, and if training is important. I think those are really great things to highlight for someone who's starting off, that you have to train, you have to actually go out there, seek knowledge. I guess one of the things I would remember to say is that a lot of people talk about, oh, but I have to pay someone to coach me or mentor me, and that stops them. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, wait, but you're investing in yourself when you do that. So, knowledge is not always free. Like
Yeah.
there's a limit to it, but if you want more, there are people that are willing to do that, but you're also taking their time. Like, I don't know if people understand that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, time is valuable. Time is
Yeah.
money. They say that. I didn't say that. They say that. So,
I didn't say
if
that, but
that's
it is
the
said.
case, if people
It has
believe
been
that and
said.
you know that to be true, why would you think that that person's time, where they're taking with you, answering all your questions and helping you, that they don't deserve some type of compensation, that they need to just give it to you for free? They went through, like you said, adversity. They went
Yes.
through all that stuff. And
Yes.
now they're trying to help you make sure that you don't go through that stuff. So here
Yes.
they are just giving it to you, and you're like, nah, I don't want
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like, so I guess that's the only thing we didn't talk about. But yes, there is value in investing in yourself, and it's going to be worth it, and it's going to take you to greater heights. I mean, when I did Unborn Wedding Academy, that wasn't free. I had to invest in it. Like,
Yeah.
that was not cheap. But
Absolutely.
I know that it's been beneficial for me and I've used it in so many ways, and then I've adapted my own style into making it, because that's what you get to learn. These things that you learn they're your foundation. But
Yes,
then the more you experience, the more you start to make it your own. You're like, okay, you know what? This is how I like to do things. This is, I like to add a little
exactly.
bit of comedy here. I like to do this
Yes,
here. I like to play with the way my voice controls this way because it just hits in a different way. So you start to pick up on that stuff. But the foundation, we do it in everything. Even if you want to get a degree in anything, you don't just show up to the hospital and say I'm a doctor. No, you got to go through schooling. You have to pay for that. And the same thing goes for this profession, especially if you want to be taken seriously, especially if you want to continue to get better. You have to invest in yourself, and that will lead to so many opportunities and so many great relationships and a community of people who trust you and believe in what you do.
yeah. That's so good. That's so good. And I always say this, especially like this is a motto at the academy. It's just like you have to learn a craft because that encourages creativity, which builds confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the reality of the situation. And I
Yeah.
think to your piece about paying for a mentorship, I think the other thing is you want to learn how to charge people how to do something. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just a little ironic
That
that
you're like,
you don't want to
but I don't
learn
want to pay for it.
the thing that you want to charge people.
Yeah.
I find that interesting sometimes.
Yeah.
But
What, it's not speaking from experience or anything.
yeah, but I'm very big in like, again, cutting my learning curve because either I'm going to spend it in time, you know what I'm saying? Or I'm going to spend it in action and learning. So, like, which one am I going to do? Am I going to spend it in time or I'm going to spend it in action
Yeah, you could
and
have done like
learning?
4 weddings by now through your learning, but here you are still trying to figure out how to reach your first client.
Right.
Like,
Like, yes, like, yeah,
you're,
quite
you're
literally.
still, yeah, you're asking the same questions over and over on online groups, and
Yes.
people are telling you. There's a lot of people that have been telling you how to do it, and you're just like, but why can't
Yeah,
you just give me my first client?
yeah,
That's how I see
literally.
some of them. Like,
Yes.
why can't you just hand it to me? No, I'm sorry. No
Yeah,
one's
because
gonna.
if I do, you're not going to know what to do with it. Like,
Yeah,
that's the reality too. If
exactly.
I
I give
hand
it
you
to you, and
something, you're
then
not going to know what to do
yeah,
with it.
I'm
Yeah.
ordained. Why can't you just give me one of your clients? Yeah, but that's not how that works.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And yeah, we can definitely double back
Yeah.
conversation, okay? Cuz yeah. I me and Norman talk about it all the time and it's just like you can invest in your business in so many different ways. It can be with a coach. It can be in conferences. It can be with a mentorship program or, just finding some type of community with like minded people who have that action taker spirit. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, by proximity, hopefully you'll grow. You see other people doing stuff, maybe FOMO would kick in. Maybe, you just, again, are just building off of the energy that is around you.
Yeah.
But you start to see what people are doing and hopefully you start to make shifts in your own life. So, I mean, mentors is definitely going to push you in a way that you just didn't think. You just did not think
Absolutely.
possible. I
And that
mean,
also is, again, investing. That's how we talk about investing in yourself, like even the time it takes. So, last year I went to Florida. I had to pay for my flight,
yeah,
accommodations,
yeah,
just to network with people that it's not a guarantee or anything, but I'm building a relationship with people.
yeah,
That's not free,
yeah,
time and money, but
absolutely.
I benefited so much from that. There's
Yeah,
so many people that I now feel confident reaching out to and being like,
yes,
oh, you know what? I would love to do a wedding here, this and that. They know me, they trust me now. But those are this type of investment. I went to Vegas, and for wedding MBA, like that was not
that's
free.
not cheap. Not
Exactly.
forget not free. That's
Yeah.
not cheap.
Right. And I did all that again because I believe in what I'm doing and I want to invest in myself.
Yeah,
So, yeah, if you think someone that's saying, yeah, you know what, $50 for this or whatever, and you're saying that that's too much for you, you don't think you're worth that? That's basically what you're saying. I am not worth the amount that it takes to get to where I want to be. And I don't think that's the way it should be, especially if you want to make this something extraordinary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just super proud of you. I see the progress. Like when I look at you, when I look at Norm, even Melissa, just, the guys
Yeah.
that made it through, the fellowship, and I just see the difference. And I know the difference that I've experienced, for like my 1 year within the program. I mean,
Mhm.
between my mindset, between just the way that my business flows, the way that I, think about ideas and like work them out before I present them, and just all of these different things. And like you said, the accessibility to people that are just light years ahead of you. You can see when those people rub off on you. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Like,
Yes.
and even
Yes.
that is just an elevation that happens. And that's why I say proximity is extremely important. I always believe
Yep.
in the power of proximity.
Mhm.
As I said, I am so proud of you. I'm
Thank
happy to
you.
be
Thank
proximal
you.
to you and all of your growth.
I am very grateful that we met that day, like almost 2 years ago, and I'm so happy that we've created a relationship and a connection that's lasting and trusting. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate you so much.
I'm so excited. So Obi, please, 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 share your socials where people can follow you and catch up
Sure.
with you and learn from you. Or yeah, please share with us.
Yeah, I am on Instagram, Opie the Officiant, same thing on TikTok, Facebook as well. My website is meetmeatthe-altar.com. But yeah, you can definitely find me mostly on Instagram and TikTok, but I will answer anywhere. Send me a message, I will get it. I like to put out content that obviously is wedding related, but really teaching you about how to elevate your ceremony and make it really personalized, make it fun and engaging. And yeah, I would love to have you all just send me DMs and tell me that you want me to marry you, of course. So
Yes.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It
Thank
has been a
you.
great conversation. See you
Absolutely.
guys on the next episode of New Officiant Era. And we are out. Bye, guys.
Bye.